Spider-Man fan right here, and that has got to be the best on-screen Spider-Man and Peter Parker I have seen to date. Seriously, Tom Holland, great job. He isn't in the movie for very long, but now I'm interested to see where they go with him because he was excellent. Captain America Civil War. So Captain America Civil War is the third Captain America movie, the second Captain America movie directed by the Russo brothers. They also directed Captain America Winter Soldier. And in this movie, tensions are rising. Governments and countries out there start thinking to themselves like, maybe these Avengers need to be contained, reined in, controlled. And from there comes a divide. There are two sides to that opinion. There are pros and cons here, pros and cons there. Tony Stark picks one side and he's like, yeah, we should be contained, we should be controlled, we should be made official. Captain America's side is like, once the control starts, where does it stop? And he actually raises a few other points I don't want to spoil for you. Point is, they have two completely different ideologies on that subject, so now the Avengers crew, they all have to choose which side they're on. Thus, the Civil War. You have to keep one thing in mind in this movie. There are a couple of different movies in this movie. You have a sequel to Captain America Winter Soldier, and you have a sequel to the Avengers. The Civil War part is a sequel to the Avengers, but this movie is first and foremost a sequel to Captain America Winter Soldier. In that, Captain America Steve Rogers and his friend Bucky Barnes, who is the Winter Soldier, they are in the forefront. Their friendship is what matters here most. All the Civil War stuff that happens is great, but it is a byproduct of that relationship. And I do feel obligated to warn you about that. I need to brace you for that because all the Civil War stuff was really cool, but really it's a lot of tension that builds throughout the movie. The Civil War stuff comes later. And that's what the Russos do so well. It'd be just so easy to have everyone suit up early on. Everyone just fights, and the movie's over. But no, they build character, they build tension, they build depth, they build tone, they build layers. And as the tension on this Civil War dilemma is building throughout the movie, it's great because you do see both sides of it. I was Team Cap when I read the comic books and I was going into this movie going, all right, I'm Team Cap. But you do see both sides in this movie. That's what this movie does well, and that's what's interesting. In a conflict, in a movie where there are two sides, you want the movie to portray to you the two sides of the argument that make you go, I do see both sides. That just makes it more interesting and it makes you feel as stuck as the characters in the movie. At a point in this movie, I was like, this is the most important decision any of them are going to make ever. Don't know about that because really bad shit's coming, but so far, this is the biggest thing they've ever had to decide on. And I can say this, if you do not flip-flop at all in this movie in your opinion on which side you stand on, you are just being unbearably stubborn. You're being a robot. Black Panther gets a lot of shine too. I like that. I don't know much about Black Panther. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. But this was my strong introduction to that character, and I really liked him. He worked for this story and situation in ways that I can't really touch on here in my spoiler-free review. The action in this movie was great also. There were a couple of parts where it got a little shaky in scenes, and not just shaky, but something's going down and there are like 4 cuts where you're like, that's kind of jarring. But it didn't compromise the whole of the experience. It is a gripe on my part though. But completely forgiving that because this movie has the greatest all-star Royal Rumble comic book hero throwdown ever I've ever seen on screen. I mean, you've seen the trailer, you've seen the clash coming. Yeah, all those personalities, all those superpowers, all of it is on screen for you, and it is insanely entertaining. And I really stress personality because their personalities are coming through while their superpowers are throwing down. It's exciting, it's entertaining, it's funny, there's humor in the throwdown. That fight hits all the notes it needed to hit, and a few more I didn't even think for it to hit. And if we're touching on the biggest gripe in this movie, the villain is just a useless weasel. I don't even know if he's a villain. Funny thing, I walked out of this movie, I spent the entire day going, it was really cool that this movie was like the first Marvel movie where there wasn't a villain. The antagonist was the opposite side of the side you wanted to be on. Each side was an antagonist and each side was also a hero, and it was really cool. Then I was like, oh God, I totally forgot about that one dude that was like doing I'm gonna show them shit. Who is he? What is he? Why is he? I mean, we find out all of that in the movie, of course. Point is, I just don't think he needed to be in this movie. I feel like you could really watch this movie, in any direction he takes the characters would have reached on their own. Through a different path and different means, but in the end, he didn't really provide anything new that they had to deal with that they wouldn't have found on their own. If he wasn't in the movie at all, if he just got edited out, you'd be down one action scene. Guys, in the end, the Russo brothers, for the second time now in a Captain America movie, have shown us that you can take comic book action fun and mix it with interesting characters and deep personal motivation. It's really important important in the comic book movie world now because comic book movies are huge. And they gotta know that they can't just be comic book eye candy that just happens all the time. It's like, I mean, that's fun and all, and I have a fun time with it personally. But if that's all we get, that's gonna be fleeting and we're all gonna get bored, as some people are already getting bored. I say already like it hasn't been 8 years now. Time flies. But Captain America Civil War, like Captain America Winter Soldier before it, shows us that these movies can have layers to them. I find myself in a no-win situation. If I give this movie awesome-tacular, I'm accused of sucking Marvel's dick. What to do? Not give a fuck, that's what. Because Captain America Civil War is kick-ass and Captain America Civil War is awesome-tacular. See, what I love about what Captain America Winter Soldier did and what Civil War continues to do is put its heroes under the microscope. It makes them fallible. It shows that when these people of power conflict, these heroes collide, people get hurt and people die. And you can think back to the other Marvel movies where you look at it and you're like, people clearly died in that situation. They had to have, but it's never really touched on. And in Captain America Civil War, it is touched on. It's like, no, we have to really humor the possibility that we're not actually doing better. We're not doing good for the people because people are just dying because of us. That's a really ballsy move and it's gutsy and I give him props for that. Funny thing, a lot of people haven't seen this movie yet, so me asking you, have you seen it, what did you think about it, isn't really relevant until 3 weeks down the road. So from what you know of the conflict so far, Team Iron Man or Team Cap? I'll tell you what team I'm leaning on when I do my spoiler video, because that's when I can really dig deeper into it. But as for you, whatever side you're on, whatever you think, comment below, let me know, and as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.